solo pod talking week 4 of the college football season. Ton of games this week again. It's just so much to keep track of. I'm doing my best for y'all, but yeah, solo pod. Let's get into it. Illinois, Nebraska, Friday Night Lights. They're doing a good job of these Friday night matchups with Kansas State and U of A last week. I know that wasn't the best game, but just having something on Friday nights because there's really nothing going on with like NFL or anything like that. But yeah, sick game, Illinois, Nebraska. Obviously, talk of the town. Or not town, but college football scene is freaking Dylan Raiola. And I got to talk about just his mannerisms because he must be watching like Patrick Mahomes highlights and fall asleep to Mahomes. Like, I don't know. Just everything he does is so similar to Mahomes. Like, even his touchdown celebrations and like his first down sellies are the exact same. It's like that like flex, and then like his walk is the same. Everything's the same. Like even when he's like bringing people in, he's like using like the two hands. I'm making the motion. You can't see it, but if you know, you know. But I was impressed with Luke Altmaier. I think he kind of outshined Raiola. Raiola wasn't bad by any means, but he definitely could have been better. And Altmaier kind of stole the shine. He went 21 for 27, 215 passing, 4 touchdowns. Extremely efficient. Threw for 4 touchdowns. Did everything he needed to do to give his team the best chance to win. Yeah, I think obviously in terms of who has the better potential, it's obviously Raiola. He's 19. But Luke Altmaier played his ass off, and super happy for this Illini team. This Nebraska team is going to be fine. Like, this is their first year of having a competent team with playmakers because they're always going to have, like, a pretty good defense. But this Illini team, their secondary is something to watch, man. They force a lot of contested catches, and they were making it hard on Raiola. This game went to OT. The Illini pulled it out 31-24. But it was just an entertaining game. But yeah, usually Illinois quarterbacks, can't really think of any off the top of my head where I'm like, notable Illinois quarterbacks, but Altmaier definitely impressed. But yeah, we'll go to next game. We'll go. We'll touch on Stanford Syracuse because it was a pretty good game. Stanford, they have Alik Iominer, who's like one of the top 10 prospects on Mel Kiper's big board for next year's draft. He's fun to watch, man. He made an insane one-handed catch on the sideline for a touchdown, and it's just plays like that where you can kind of separate himself as like his in terms of boosting his draft stock. He's playing with a quarterback though that struggles to throw the ball. Ashton Daniels is a hell of an athlete, but I don't know. He's just not. He's there more for the rushing upside, and the upside wasn't really there today. He only had 13 carries for 45 yards, which isn't exactly how they're going to be successful because he relies so much on that rushing. And then Kyle McCord threw for 2 picks, 2 touchdowns, 339 passing. It's not bad, but threw the ball 42 times. Rush game for Syracuse is pretty much non-existent. Trevor Pena had 101 receiving yards. Stanford won this game on a game-winning field goal. So they go to 2-1, 1-0 in the conference. Could be a lot worse from how this Stanford season started out. But yeah, we'll go San Jose State, Washington State. I know that has like no implications whatsoever on playoff or anything like that. I know Washington State is now 4-0, but let's see if they play. They played Portland State, Texas Tech. Oh, okay. I stand corrected. Portland State sucks. Texas Tech, better. Washington, better. San Jose State, not good. So 2 of the 4 teams they played aren't terrible, but they play Boise State next week, so that'll be a good test. See how good they actually are. They're 4-0. This game finished 54-52. Insane double OT game. I don't know if you guys watched it, but it's crazy. Just go watch the highlights. Unbelievable plays on both sides of the ball for both teams. Crazy fourth quarter. And then, Washington State pull out the victory. We'll go ranked teams just because they have the most relevancy towards the playoffs, which is what we're ultimately going to end up talking about. Texas destroyed UL Monroe 51-3. Ohio State beat up on Marshall 49-14. Quinshon Judkins is a cool storyline there with him and Gus, and one of the reasons he wanted to go to Ohio State, this might be cap, by the way. This might just be him sucking up to Gus, but was for Gus to call his games, and pretty cool moment there between him and Gus, and that was he broke off a huge run for a touchdown. Mika Igbuka had 117 yards. And, this Ohio State team they're definitely good. It's just typical Ohio State. They don't really play anybody nasty for the first, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And then they get Oregon October 12th, which they should win. I don't think Oregon's that great. And then they get Penn State, which, again, I don't think is that great. And then the only other team notably that's on their schedule was Michigan to close out the year. I don't think they're great. I think we'll get to the USC game and how I think they won that game, but Ohio State definitely will be the favorite the rest of the way, like they have been the past 3 games as well. But they'll probably be a top 4 seed in the playoff, and unless something catastrophic happens with them. But Ole Miss, they beat up on Georgia Southern 52-13. Like Ohio State, they've played literally nobody so far. They played Furman, MTSU, Wake Forest, and Georgia Southern. That's horrible. Kentucky will be a way better game next weekend for them. That Kentucky team, remember, they just took Georgia to the wire, 13-12, lost, but it's a Georgia team where they're completely outmanned and outgunned, and they held them to 13 points. But then they got South Carolina after that. Then they got LSU, then Oklahoma, then Arkansas, who's sneaky good, and then Georgia, Florida, Mississippi State. This is when the cakewalk for Ole Miss is up. We'll see how Jackson Dart plays in some high stress games for him. And then Tennessee, Oklahoma. Again, guys, I can't even count how many teams or lists of games. Number of games that are for me to go over. I only have 2 eyeballs, and I could only watch so many games live. So I'm doing the games I have live. I'll go more in depth about this next one, Tennessee, Oklahoma. But and then I'll just kind of gloss over the blowouts from the big-time teams against nobodies. But Tennessee, Oklahoma. This was a domination by Tennessee. The final score doesn't depict how this game went. It was 25-15 the final. Nico, he didn't look great. You got to give credit to this Oklahoma team. I don't think anyone thought they're going to do as well as they did against Nico. Don't get me wrong. Nico had his moments for sure, including a 66-yard touchdown, which just kind of put this game even further away for Oklahoma. But they keyed in on Dylan Sampson early, which helped a lot. I think kind of put the pressure on Nico to make all the plays. And yeah, Tennessee, their defense is just unbelievable. I'm trying to think of the other teams that I've watched play besides like Ohio State and like Bama that have looked as dominant as Tennessee has. They destroy NC State and then they come and beat Oklahoma in Oklahoma, which no matter, well, I'll get to the Oklahoma offense in a second, but no matter how bad they were in this game, still impressive to do. This Oklahoma offense, though, was just so bad. Freaking, what's his name? Jackson Arnold is so terrible. They benched him for Michael Hawkins, who showed some heart at least. He dove for the pylon, got cracked as he did it, but that's just like showing some type of like I want it type of mentality. And he was better than Jackson Arnold. Arnold just, he's not the answer. It's kind of like these other like mid quarterbacks for these ranked teams. When they play teams that have actual difference makers, it's going to be tough for them, especially when they have such a good defense, this Vols team does. Sampson finished with 92 yards on 24 carries, but it was actually the backup running back, Deshaun Bishop, who kind of was that different change of pace. I'm not sure if Oklahoma watched as much film on Bishop as they thought they needed to, because Bishop was average 4 yards a carry. He's pretty solid. Yeah, and then Brew McCoy, like this receiving core for Tennessee, they're talking about in the broadcast is very, very talented. Brew McCoy is one of the top 10 prospects for receivers for next year's draft, and he made a big catch. Dante Thornton Jr. went for a 66-yard touchdown. Only had 2 catches, but that was a huge one. And yeah, this it was just a tale of two defenses in this one. Like, you can see Nico is frustrated. But when you beat a 15th ranked team away, you can't really knock him too much. He did what he needed to do. They got the dub. They move on. We'll go over previews at the end of the video. But yeah, big win for Tennessee. Oklahoma, offensive struggles, kind of the name of the game there. A lot of yapping on a solo pod, but we'll get to where do we want to go next? I lost my place. There we go. Vandy at Mizzou. This game was, I had a chance to watch this game live for the most part. When I saw it was still close going into the third and fourth quarter. I don't know what is going on with Mizzou, but I don't know. They beat Boston College last week, which I actually picked Boston College to beat them. So I was like, okay, they got something there. And then Vandy comes in and gives them all they can handle, takes them to double OT. They don't even score a touchdown. They score a touchdown on a little out and up by Luther Burden, who is good again today. I think if I had to rank my top 10 receivers for next year's class, Luther Burden would be at the top. He just looks the most like NFL ready receiver. I think Tatario McMillan, insane, like just one-on-one 50-50 ball. He'll probably come down with it, but in terms of just separation, there's really not much there. And then after the catch, he looks like a truck turning. Luther has that second gear with like the route running with the catch the ball skills. He has it all. And he had 2 touchdowns again today. Brady Cook, not great. You got to give credit to this freaking Diego Pavia kid for Vanderbilt. I was trying to find more information about him. I think he went to community college and then like walked on somewhere, and then now he's at Vandy, and it was like his only D1 offer or something like that. I might be able to train that. Don't quote me, but He threw for 178 passing, 2 touchdowns, and rushed for 84 yards. So just the heart that kid had really shined through. And yeah, this is a Mizzou team that's. We'll check their. Let me see their upcoming schedule, because obviously it gets tougher with SEC. Yeah, they go to A&M next week, which will be interesting because that A&M quarterback they got after they benched Connor Weigman, I think his name is, he's legit, bro. And they're back in the top 25. It's another ranked matchup. And then they got UMass, who they should destroy. Auburn, which they should beat. And then they got Bama, Oklahoma back-to-back, which will be interesting. And then they finish out the year South Carolina, Mississippi State, Arkansas. So Mizzou has some questions to answer. They fall to 11 after getting taken to overtime. Double OT at that by Vandy. Yeah, but in terms of just NFL prospects, Luther Burden's legit. We'll go to this Miami South Florida game I'll touch on for just a bit. This game is close the entire way. Cam Ward, the Heisman favorite right now, is still balling. He threw for 404, 3 touchdowns and a pick. I just want to see him get cleaner. I don't think he should be throwing as many INTs as he does. I think he's a little careless with the ball. But, yeah, his receivers made plays for him. South Florida team, I mean, they just took Bama to the wire, and they kept it close with Miami for the better half of this game, and then Miami's they just pulled away. But they beat him 50. Excuse me. I lost my place. 50-15. And then we'll go to Penn State. I'll touch on them for a second. They whoop up on Penn State, beat Kent State. It's a little interesting. 56-0. I don't know. There's nothing really in there for me to touch on. I don't think Penn State's that great. I think they're going to get found out pretty quick once they play actual competition. And then another game I got to watch live, USC Michigan. Holy hell. This game is nuts. This Michigan team, dude, I've never seen a corner that has this much of an impact on a game in a very long time. Will Johnson's unbelievable. They don't win this game without him. If he doesn't pick that ball off and return it for a touchdown, that is... They probably lose this game, to be honest. It's sad because Michigan relies so much on their defense and their run game. And they have Colson Loveland, who's like a fantastic player. They just don't have the guy to throw him the ball. Alex Orji was in there for most of the game. He sucks. They can't run a functional, consistent offense with their quarterbacks that they have. But this Michigan defense stepped up in the big house. Talked about that pick six already. Miller Moss played all right. Not great. But yeah, it was just honestly, that pick six is just like kind of the separator because Miller Moss threw the ball 51 times. Woody Marks averaged 7.7 yards a carry on the ground. Went for 100 yards. The receivers on USC did their thing. Zachariah Branch is literally a human joystick. He's unbelievable. And then on the other side of the ball, Alex Orji threw for 32 yards, bro. Throwing for 32 yards and winning a game 27-24. You got to clap it up to the boys in the trenches and the run game. And the guy who ended up winning this and sealing it was Khalil Mullings. Donovan Edwards is on the damn NCAA cover, but they might need to replace him with Mullings. He put up 159 yards and 2 touchdowns, averaged 9.4 yards a carry. Donovan Edwards, 14 carries, 74 yards, and a touchdown. Still good. It's just not 9.4 yards a carry and 2 touchdowns, especially the 63-yarder that pretty much sealed the game. When he broke that off, man, that place went bonkers. But yeah, this Michigan defense is going to have to continuously play like that and probably have a takeaway or two every single game to even give this team a chance to win. 32 yards from your quarterback is embarrassing. I can't even. Yeah, that would be so frustrating if I was on defense. But that's what they pride themselves on. They have multiple top 15 picks depending on team needs from the NFL, with Mason Graham and guys like Will Johnson. But they got a bunch of dogs, man. That's a big win for Michigan. They go 3-1, 1-0 in the conference. USC falls to 2-1. Yeah, that was hell of a game. Utah, Oklahoma State. Kind of got to watch this game a little bit, not too much. Again, dysfunctional play from quarterbacks. It's just like these are two top 15 teams in the country. I know Cam Rising's hurt. I know. I'll kind of let the Utah Utes slide here for a second, but it's just defense and the run game. And Utah rushed for 182 yards. Micah Bernard had 25 carries, 182 yards, 7 yards a carry. Ollie Gordon was held to 3.8 yards a carry. I think he's kind of fallen down draft boards a little bit just because how unproductive he's been in terms of how many times he's been given the ball and how many yards he gets. Alan Bowman, I'll stick by it, is the most mid quarterback you can have for a ranked team. And yeah, it's just this defense from Utah is the real talking point. Isaac Wilson threw for 207, 2 picks and a touchdown. He's not good. Dorian Singer had 7 catches, 95 yards. He was their leading receiver. Yeah, this Oklahoma State team is just not great. They go to 3-1, but that'll probably change once they start playing some better teams. Utah goes to 4-0. They better get Cam Rising back quick, though, because against a good offense that will keep these guys on the field and wear this defense down, it's not going to be a good recipe for them going forward. But they get the dub 22-19. We'll go to this BYU Kansas State game. I was waiting for Kansas State to kind of creep back into it, and they just never did. I ended up turning off going to the fourth quarter, but give credit to this BYU defense. They were everywhere. Avery Johnson never looked comfortable. They had that insane punt return where the guy on BYU was tracky it, lost it, let it bounce, picked it up, fumbled it for a second, finally got hold of it, bounced it outside down the sideline for a touchdown. It was like a 93-yarder, but he probably ran like 150 yards on the play, just going back and forth. Avery Johnson struggled. 2 picks, only 130 yards through the air. Rushed for 74 yards, but if you can't be consistent passing the ball, you're not going to have success. They only put up 9 points, too. BYU is impressive, dude. I would keep an eye on them. I want to see when they play Boise State. Let's see. They don't play Boise State. I don't know why they thought they did. They play Baylor and then U of A. So that'll be 2 good games, and they go Oklahoma State. Okay. BYU, man, they're first in the Big 12 right now. Hats off to them. See if they can keep it rolling. Kansas State falls to 3-1. Talking about just quarterback play. Avery Johnson's another guy where at least he has rushing upside, but in terms of just a pure passer of the ball, he's not going to win you any games by himself. But, yeah, big win for BYU. Computer's lagging. There we go. LSU beat up on UCLA. That was it's a good win. UCLA's obviously former Pac-12 school, and now in the Big Ten they go to 1-2 though. Yeah, this LSU team's they're good, man. I know they lost that first game to USC and they got taken to the wire by USC, South Carolina, though. But they're good. Gary Nussmeier's good. They have some playmakers. Uh, I think Gary Nussmeier's kind of on the higher end of these quarterbacks that we're talking about with ranked teams that are mid. If there were a scale of mid to competent quarterbacks, he's kind of on that cuff of being just a higher level mid guy. If that makes sense to anybody, it makes sense to me. Yeah. No, anyways, Notre Dame, they beat Miami, Ohio 28-3. Riley Leonard almost rushed for as many yards as he threw for, 154 to 143. This Notre Dame offense just, I don't know. Riley Leonard's a crazy athlete, but he just, again, can these guys throw the ball? And that's what I'm kind of picking up on, is all these teams that are top 10, like Miami, like Tennessee, obviously Georgia, Jalen Milroe from Bama. These guys have quarterback play that they can do it through the air at a high level, like an elite level like Cam Ward does, and then he can kind of get out of the pocket a little bit too. Or you're like Jalen Milroe, where he's very competent passing, but he just is elite on the ground. All these other guys are kind of like mid on both sides, and that's where you get like your Bowmans and your Jackson Arnolds, and you're just mid-level quarterbacks. But the rest of the team's great, but at the end of the day, quarterback is the most important position. Yeah, we'll go to Georgia Tech. I picked them to beat Louisville. They didn't. Louisville beat them 31-19. I haven't really gotten a chance to watch Louisville play. They're always kind of playing games where I'm like, I could watch that, but there's 2 other games on, and I only have 2 other TVs, so I'm kind of stuck there. But Tyler Show threw for 13 for 13 for 19, 269, 2 touchdowns. Run game is pretty much non-existent for Louisville, only 57 yards combined. Ja'Cory Brooks had 4 catches, 125 yards and a touchdown. Again, they only completed 13 of their passes, so it was kind of interesting how that game went. Haynes King threw for 312, no touchdowns, no picks, but added a touchdown on the ground, 58 yards. And yeah, this Georgia Tech team is not bad. I would not take them lightly. Let's see what they got on the schedule. Remaining, they got Duke, North Carolina, Notre Dame. Watch that Georgia Tech Notre Dame game on October 19th. That Georgia Tech might give them a little bit of problems because they have good run defense, and Notre Dame can't really throw the ball too much. I would watch that game. Then they get Miami and Georgia as well too, so they got a tough road ahead. They're 3-2. Louisville goes to 3-0, 1-0 in the conference, but they haven't. Let's see what they've played. Oh yeah, here we go. They played Austin, PA, and Jackson State the first 2 weeks. They got Georgia Tech, who they beat. Props to them. Now they get Notre Dame. This will be a good test and see where this Louisville Cardinal team is at. Going into South Bend and seeing how they look there. But yeah, after that, they have SMU, they're good. Can't really sleep on them. Then Virginia, then Miami, Boston College, Clemson. Though that 3-game stretch is tough. So we'll see what Louisville can do next week against Notre Dame. Let's get back to this week's games. Iowa State whooped up on Arkansas State. Won't go over that too much. Clemson, I don't know where this offense is coming from, but they put up 59 on NC State. They also gave up 35 points, which is not what you want to see. But Cade Klubnik, 3 for 209, 3 touchdowns. I don't know. I don't see this as big of a win as some other. I'm seeing on like ESPN and stuff. They're like, Cade Klubnik's back. They're trying to convince me that Cade Klubnik's back. I'm like, no, this NC State team is just overrated as fuck, and they have they don't have competent quarterback play. I know Grayson McCall was out, but he sucks. Their backup struggled again today. Yeah, they're not great. They have not decent. They have an elite receiver in Kevin Concepcion. He's got to get up out of there though. He might come out this year. I'm gonna see. I think he's a sophomore. Yeah, he's a sophomore. He's extremely talented, but he just doesn't have the quarterback play to get. Siri just popped up asking if I knew what a sophomore was. Yeah, I know what it is. But yeah, this Kevin Concepcion kid's a stud. He just doesn't have quarterback play. And yeah, I don't think this Clemson game. I'm more worried for Clemson that they gave up 35 points to this NC State team, who was without their starting quarterback, and he sucks. So C.J. Bailey is just that shouldn't be happening. Oh, I know they kind of scored 20. They scored 21 in the fourth, so whatever. But they did put up 59 points. You got to give them their props there. But I'm not bought in yet. They go to 2-1. NC State falls to 2-2. Let's see here. We'll go to Northern Illinois. The hype train had to end sometime. I didn't think it was going to be against Buffalo, but Buffalo beats them in OT 23-20. Yeah, this game is just... They had their moment. Now it's over. They go to 2-1. Yeah, it's probably not. That program probably peaked when they beat Notre Dame last week, but we'll go to Texas A&M. They host Bowling Green. They beat them, not handily, 26-20, but they beat them. This Marcel Reed kid is so fun to watch, but he's got to be more efficient. He's got to get the completion percentage up. He went 16 for 29, which isn't good at all. Yeah, this Bowling Green team is now took A&M and Penn State to the wire. So maybe let's see what they got next. Yeah, they finish out the season. They're in the MAC, so they don't really play anybody else. They play at Northern Illinois. But that's about it. But yeah, this A&M team, I don't know. They're 3-1. I think Marcel Reed is worlds better than freaking Connor Weigman, but they got to get it figured out. And just got to limit the turnovers. They fumbled against this Bowling Green team. I don't think you should be doing that. But yeah, A&M is a better team with Marcel Reed as the quarterback. He's a difference maker through the air and through the ground. He's broke some poor dude's ankles so bad. I can't if that was this week or last week, but he shattered him. But yeah, they beat him 26-20. We'll go into matchups at the end of the video. But yeah, Florida at Mississippi State. Florida gets it done. Mississippi State's quarterback goes down with the season-ending shoulder injury. So that sucks to him. I was just kind of singing his praise last week after they played ASU, but they drop one. Florida gets a win, gets back on track. They're 2-2 now. But yeah, kind of gloss over these guys. West Virginia beat Kansas. Kansas is now 1-3. In terms of expectations, that's not where they want to be. But yeah, ASU, I got to touch on them. Hometown team. They drop one to Texas Tech. Sam Leavitt threw for 282. But it's just, can this ASU defense put their big boy pants on and play some hard-nosed football in the trenches on both sides because I don't know. They didn't play a bad team. Like Texas Tech isn't bad, but um, their schedule, they get a bye next week, and they host Kansas, and then they host Utah, which will be a fun game because I don't know if Cam Rising's still out, they might have a chance in that game. But then they finish out the year with Oklahoma State, Kansas State, BYU, and U of A in 4 out of the 5 games to end the season with a UCF game thrown in there too. That's not easy at all, especially at Kansas State. U of A just kind of found out the hard way. That's tough to go in there and beat them. They started 3-0, but I would not be shocked if they go 4, 5, 6-6 probably. I wouldn't be shocked if they go 6-6, to be honest. But we'll see. Cam Scatterbo is a beast, so Florida State beat Cal 14-9. Jesus, what a freaking boring game that is. Florida State sucks. Cal was undefeated. Now they dropped to 3-1. But yeah, the only other game I could think of that I want to touch on, is this. I don't know what this Colorado game. Colorado beat Baylor 38-31. This is one of the craziest endings to a game I've ever seen. Obviously, if you guys didn't see, Shedeur threw up a Hail Mary to Jonte Wester, I think his name is. Yeah, LeJontay Wester, and he came down with it for a touchdown with the last 2 seconds left on the game clock, and that place went ape shit. And that's just unbelievable because this game was just so back and forth. Colorado was down by 14 at one time and stormed back to beat them in OT. And man, for Travis Hunter to force the fumble, it was just kind of just the cherry on top with playmakers on this team just doing their thing. Obviously, Shedeur, he had to throw it, but LeJontay Wester, that was a hell of a catch to come down with it. That was unbelievable. I'm still kind of in shock about that. Baylor falls to 2-2. The Colorado Buffaloes are 3-1. I'm not saying that's going to withstand, but they get UCF next week, which they should win. They should win. But then they get Kansas State and U of A back-to-back, which will be interesting. But yeah, they go to 3-1. They're currently first in the Big 12 right now. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. They can't really stop anybody, but they're going to put points up if they can protect Shedeur and get the ground game going. Well, actually, one more game I'll touch on. Boston College beat Michigan State 23-19. That's a big win for Boston College coming off a loss to Mizzou. But yeah, Boston College they go to 3-1, and they got Western Kentucky. They got a bye, then Western Kentucky, Virginia Tech. So they should win those next 3 games. But yeah, Boston College, man. Keep an eye on them in the ACC. But yeah, that kind of wraps up what I want to talk about for week 4. That wraps up. We'll look ahead to week 5. See what kind of matchups we're looking with. This is my first time looking at them, to keeping it real. Miami, Virginia Tech on Friday. Rutgers, Washington. Ole Miss, Kentucky's a good game. Ole Miss is first. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Real comp in Kentucky. They host them. Should win. They're minus 17.5 point favorites. I think Kentucky actually keeps it closer than that, but Ole Miss gets the win there. Michigan hosts Minnesota. That's just going to be a dogfight because of what we touched on with Michigan just not being able to move the ball offensively. Minnesota team is not bad either. Well coached. They have that bald dude. I'm blanking on his name. Highly regarded. Kind of feel bad just calling him the bald dude, but yeah. Good coach. Then you got Oklahoma State at Kansas State. The mid-off. This is the biggest mid-off of all time. There's probably going to be back and forth plays on both sides here. I'll give it to Kansas State just because I think their quarterback is slightly better. And it's at Kansas State, so if they can just key in on Ollie Gordon, I think they win the game. BYU at Baylor. Baylor just came off that tough loss to Colorado. They're going to be fired up. BYU's off. They're coming off a big win too. I'm going to give it to. This is a tough one. This might be a. I'll take BYU. Fuck it. BYU over Baylor. We'll go to. Don't care about that game. Nebraska at Purdue. I think Nebraska bounces back. Northern Illinois at NC State. Talk about just mid teams playing each other. Give me NC State, I guess, just because their talent is definitely better throughout the depth chart. And then we got Wisconsin at USC. That should be a decent game, but I think USC gets back on track there. Oh, and then we got Louisville at Notre Dame. Notre Dame is -6.5 right now. So, yeah, I can't see Notre Dame dropping another game because they're basically playing with their hair on fire the rest of the time because that loss to NIU really rattled them and ruined their hopes of a playoff shot, most likely, unless they went out. I'm going to pick Notre Dame. I want to see what Louisville's got. They haven't played anybody, so I'll take Notre Dame. Oklahoma goes into Auburn. I like Auburn there. I'm sick and tired of this Oklahoma stuff on offense. They stink. Texas A&M hosts Arkansas. I could see I'm going to pick Arkansas to win this game. I'm not overly impressed by what A&M has on offense. I know Marcel Reed. I talked about I like him better than Weigman, but still taking Arkansas. I like Taylor Green a lot. Excuse me. We got what other games we got here? Texas hosts Mississippi State. I think they dog walk them. Texas just looks unstoppable right now. Ohio State goes into Michigan State. This will probably be close early, but Ohio State will pull away. Stanford at Clemson. Stanford could give this Clemson team problems just because of their weird offense. I'll pick Clemson. It's at Clemson, too. I'll pick them. Georgia at Alabama. That's the game. That's the freaking game that we need. Alabama's home underdogs for the first time since 2007, I believe, was the stat I saw. I think Alabama gets it done, dude. I believe in Jalen Milroe. And I don't think Georgia has great weapons, don't get me wrong. And their defense is insane. But give me Milroe and this Bama team to beat them. That should be such a fun game. I can't wait for that. Penn State hosts Illinois. Give me Illinois here. I'm pretty certain that Illinois will beat Penn State. I'm very impressed by what I saw from the Illinois quarterback. I think this Penn State team is overrated as fuck. Their quarterback, Drew Lar, is not great. Give me Illinois. I can't believe Penn State's -17.5. That seems kind of wild to me. Florida State goes to SMU. I could care less, honestly. I don't know why you would mention that. Washington State goes to Boise State. That should be a good game. Ashton Genty's one of the Heisman favorites right now. Boise State cracks the top 25. Dude, keep the Broncos rolling. Give me Boise State. Strictly based on Ashton Genty. They have Ashton Genty and Washington State doesn't. Utah. This U of A Utah game is interesting because I don't know. Utah's defense is obviously insane, but I need to see Cam Rising's probably out still, I believe. And that quarterback didn't impress me at all on Utah. Give me U of A here, honestly. Give me U of A here. I like this. Cam Rising, I think if he plays, they win. But if Cam Rising doesn't play, I think U of A gets it done. Yeah, it's kind of probably my most outlandish take other than the Illinois one. But Oregon goes into UCLA to round it out. I think they win. Might be close. I think UCLA will probably keep it closer than minus 24 points. But yeah, I'll take Oregon there. But I'm pumped for this next week. I didn't realize how many ranked on right matchups there were, including some other games where I think that BYU Baylor game should be interesting. Kentucky Ole Miss will be, I think, way more interesting than people think. But yeah, that's pretty much wraps up my week 4 recap and week 5 predictions. I appreciate you guys listening. Go check out the TikTok and Instagram at the Let's Talk Ball _podcast. No, the Let's Talk Ball _podcast. But yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys listening. And as always, should get this out. Today is Monday. Get this out either today or tomorrow. Stay tuned for me and Randy's week 3 NFL recap. A lot of stuff to talk about there, but yeah, guys, I'll talk to you guys soon.